Good morning, students. Welcome to this online class for MBT 202 student of Biotechnology department. Let's start with the final part of the microbial interaction and infection, part 2. And in this section, we will talk about the uh, disease and epidemiology. So, first of all, we must know about what is health. Actually, health is the condition in which the organism performs its vital functions properly. You can say that it is a state of physical and mental well-being. So, what is a disease? Disease is any impairment of the normal state of an organism that hinders the performance of vital functions. And a disease could be categorized as genetic disease if various genetic or immunological anomalies are responsible for disease and impairment. It could be a metabolic disease when malnutrition or some environmental factors causes impairment or abnormality in a particular organism. The disease could be infective. Infective means it can be caused by different types of parasites. These parasites could be helminths, nematodes, protozoa, fungi, virus, bacteria, etc. Now, in this chapter or in this part of the topic or lecture, we actually talk about the infectious disease, the disease which is caused by different pathogenic organisms. So, one another term which is actually associated with infectious disease, or you can say it deal with the disease area of disease, that is epidemiology. Epidemiology, it is a science that actually evaluates the occurrence, determinants, distribution, and control of health as well as disease in a defined human population. So let's talk about the infectious disease. Infectious disease itself can be categorized into four types. First is sporadic disease, when a disease occurs occasionally at a regular at a irregular intervals, not regular, at irregular intervals in a human population. For example, bacterial meningitis or malaria. Then another term which is used for disease or category of a disease, that is endemic diseases. Endemic diseases actually are those diseases which maintain at a steady low level frequency at regular interval. Sporadic diseases, they are appears occasionally at irregular intervals, while endemic disease, they remain maintained in a given population or a confined population, and it maintain at regular interval. For example, common cold. But this endemic disease can be converted into hyperendemic disease when the occurrence frequency increases. The frequency increases of that particular endemic disease. So, for example, common cold or common flu during winter months. The next category of disease is epidemic disease. Epidemic disease, it actually affect a number of people, many population at once. There is a sudden increase in the occurrence of a disease above the expected level, while endemic diseases, they occurs in an expected level, but epidemic, it occurs above the expected level. For example, HIV, it becomes epidemic. Swine flu, it becomes epidemic. Dengue, it becomes epidemic. When it affects at a particular time at once, because of the sudden increase in the occurrence of a particular disease. So this is known as epidemic disease. And actually this epidemic disease is an outbreak. It is an outbreak. What is outbreak? It is a sudden, unexpected occurrence of a disease in a limited segment of population. The next category, the most dangerous category which we are actually facing at this time, that is pandemic diseases. Pandemic is an increase in disease occurrence within a large population over a very wide region, usually the world. And the examples are H1N1 influenza outbreak in 2009 and COVID-19 outbreak in 2019 and 20. So, what is an infectious disease cycle? Actually, infectious disease cycle, it comprises different components. Different components means, first, pathogen, that is causative agent, which actually responsible for a particular disease. Then next is reservoir, where these pathogen resides. These reservoir can be animate or inanimate, means living or non-living system. Then next is how these pathogen, they exit from the reservoir and transmitted to a particular host. So during this period, there are four factors. First, we have already talked, that is reservoir. Then portal of exit, what is the exit method. Then mode of transmission, what is the transmission mode, how they transmit from reservoir to the susceptible host. And then what is the mode of entry, how they enter inside a host. So this is a cycle which is known as infectious disease cycle. And if we want to control a particular infectious disease, we have to break one of these factors. We have to break one of these factors. For example, either we uh, have to control pathogen causative agent by using different types of medication or antimicrobial agents, or we can uh, eradicate the reservoir. If it is inanimate reservoir, then treat with different types of antimicrobial agent. Then we can break the mode of transmission, how this disease actually transmitted. from one person to another or from reservoir to the susceptible host. So if we are able to break or to remove one of the factor from this infectious disease cycle, will be able to control a disease. Nowadays, in the case of COVID-19, we are working to control mode of transmission by um, uh, using social distancing method, because this COVID-19 disease is a communicable disease. It is spread through direct contact, either through direct contact or via fomites. So if we avoid, one thing is to apply a different type of disinfection technique to disinfect the area where we reside, and another thing, to maintain distance between a diseased person and a healthy population. So social distancing is one of the best way to avoid transmission of COVID-19 over a wide range of population. So now we can talk in detail about the infectious disease cycle or chain of infection. So as we have told you that one thing is the pathogen, then next is reservoir or source. Source is actually or reservoir is the location from which the pathogen is immediately transmitted to the host, either directly to the environment or indirectly to an intermediate agent. Source, as I have told you, that source can be either animate or inanimate. Then next most important thing is period of infectivity. Period of infectivity is the time during which the source is infectious or is disseminating the pathogen. It means if we talk about the COVID-19, we have studied about different researches, or it is actually told that COVID-19, it can be survive on the particular surface for 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days, or it could be survive in a particular disease person for 15 to 30 days. So this period which we described in the terms of time, that is 1 hour, 2 hour, 8 hours, 3 days, 1 days, or 30 days, this is known as period of infectivity. The next is reservoir. Reservoir is the site or natural environmental location in which the pathogen normally resides. In case of COVID-19, the reservoir is human being. For this particular strain, the reservoir is diseased person. However, it is reported, or it is documented, that this disease is transferred from bat to human. But whatever the situation is, in the present scenario, the reservoir is actually the diseased person which have this COVID-19 virus in his or her body. So reservoir, sometimes it could be inanimate also. When it is inanimate, it acts as a vehicle, and if it is a human, then it is known as carrier. If reservoir is an human, then it is known as carrier. So carrier can be defined as an infected individual who is a potential source, of infection for others. So depending upon